Okay, welcome to episode 3 of Soul Care versus Self-Care. We've talked about the heart, we've talked about the mind. Last, I want to talk about the body.
The body.
The world would tell Christians that we have a low view of the body because we don't just give it sex whenever we want to give it sex. We don't just give it dopamine hits whenever we want to give it dopamine hits, that we discipline it in order, that we discipline it. And they would say that's a low view of the body, but really it's actually a very high view of the body. That we understand that our body is just not something that we do stuff with, but our body is intrinsically connected to the deepest part of us, which is our soul, and that we're a temple of the Holy Spirit. So we use our body in ways that is honoring to God, who is the most important being in all the universe. So we have a very high view of the body, and so we want to honor God with our body. And our heart is our willpower, which, like I think we said, if we didn't, maybe we said it before the podcast. Our willpower is great for big decisions, scary decisions. In the moment, you've got to be courageous. We got to do this. It's great. It's great for willpower. Our thoughts and our feelings help navigate our framework. Our body is good for the small decisions, the little tiny, everyday, habitual decisions. So the Apostle Paul likens our body to like an athlete, that I've got to discipline. I've got to beat it into discipline so that it can free up my soul to experience the blessing that my soul is supposed to experience. I'm going to force my body to go the ways of God so that I can experience the good, pleasing, perfect will of God. So it's like patterns, right? Our life, our habits are like patterns. Are you a waffle or pancake person?
Ooh, probably pancake.
Pancake? Okay. Well, waffles are better, but
I like them both.
But they have to be crispy. So a waffle is pressed in a waffle maker. And when you take out that waffle, it is left with an imprint based off of what it's been pressed down by. Mm-hmm. There's a pattern on it that has an imprint. The Bible talks about how we are the image of Jesus, that we have been imprinted by the gospel, like that type of language. And that the Apostle Paul tells Timothy, follow the patterns of the words which I've given you. The 2 Peter 3 tells us to be diligent to be found by him in peace, without blame. So there's this idea in the Bible of patterns and diligence, and that when we come out of the pressing of life, that the pattern that should be on us is the patterns of Jesus. That we should be with him, that should transform our heart and our mind. Yeah. But then at some point, we should begin to do the things that he did. We should be able to live the life that he lived. We should be able, he says, come to me all who are weary and heavy laden, I will give you rest for your soul. Take my yoke. That word there in the original language is the idea of a rabbi giving you teaching to follow. And he says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. There's a way that we're supposed to follow. There's a way we're supposed to walk. We're supposed to look at how he lived his life and operate our life in this similar pattern and pick up the similar habits and live it diligently so that we can be found to be in peace when he comes and he finds us without spot or blame. So the point is if we were taken out of the waffle maker right now, and a great way to do this is just audit your time, audit your days, audit your habits.
Yeah.
Would our habits that we do with our body have the same imprint of the habits that Jesus had when he was on the planet? Would our habits honor God? Would our habits honor his life? And if not, this is probably the hardest one. And we talked about it a little bit the last one, but the body is really something that you have to discipline.
Yeah.
Habits are something you have to discipline because you came into this with already a mindset that's been set.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's just hard.
I think about muscle memory.
Yeah.
We've heard about muscle memory before. You do something the same way with the same muscle, whether it's pitching, whether it's, golfing, it could be just riding your bike. Your muscle knows what to do. You're not necessarily thinking about it. Let's talk about driving, since a lot of our teens will be watching this. Yeah. Some of them learning to drive, some of them getting into patterns. You don't think about every single time you step on the brake or the gas. You don't think about it. Yeah. Even if you're coming to a stop sign, I am not thinking, I'm using let me move my right foot to the left side. You don't do that, right? Yeah. Because it has become a pattern, like you said. It's become a way. You've done it so much that you naturally know how to do it. Wow. we aren't looking at the bigger picture when we're first learning how to drive, when we're first in driver's ed, when we're first learning the rules of the road. We're not thinking about the bigger picture later on and how this is forming us now and how this is going to get us to where we need to go without having to overthink. If all we ever did was overthink the same way we were learning to drive, it would be miserable.
Yeah.
It would be miserable. And that's what we're doing to ourselves, essentially in life and with our bodies. We're trying to do these things over and over, but we're not establishing real habits. We're not establishing real habits with God either.
Yeah.
With the way that we're reading, the way that we're praying, the way that we're even joining in community. The more that we do it, the more patterns that we set, the more that it's just going to become natural.
Yeah.
Sure, things might come up and there might be detours and there might be bumps in the road. There might even be fender benders and big wrecks. But even so, you still have that same pattern. You still know how to drive. You know how to get up and go on. It's even bigger than that with the Lord. He's given you like this mold. He's given you this idea, this plan. And if you just walk in it, it becomes muscle memory. It's good. It nourishes you and it nourishes other people around you as well.
It's good. So a podcast I was listening to the other day, they used the reference of cruise ships basically produce laziness. They produce people that just look for comfort. Battleships produce people that look for growth.
Ooh, two totally different ships.
Yeah, two different ships. So I think we've gotten so accustomed to comfort that we have to, I think this is probably the one. I think the body's probably the one. You said we get so caught up in overthinking. I think the body's probably the one where it's like when the Apostle Paul says, I beat my body into discipline, like he's not actually punching himself. I think what he's saying is like, this is kind of the one where like, you don't need to like really even think, or you just need to like set up some stuff that you're going to do with discipline.
Yeah.
Like, and just like whether it be working out or whatever, and just consistently do it. But I think what will help that is if we understand which ship that we're on. And the reality is that it's really about, I would say this, it's not about which ship we're on, because we're all on a battleship. Because if you talk to anybody,
the cruise ship looks fine.
Yeah. But if you talk to anybody you talk to, the people that, if you talk to wealthy people, they're on a battleship because they're dealing with legal contracts and they just have a different heart than poor people. If you talk to poor people, they're dealing with a battleship. They need money for their next bill.
Yeah.
So all of us really, we would say we're dealing with a battleship. If we came into church, we would connect with the part of the message that was the part trying to comfort us in our pain.
Yeah.
And we would ask for prayer about it. Because we all like have this idea we're on a battleship. But we all live our life trying to get on the cruise ship. And so it's really like understanding that I can't escape this battleship. I've got to kind of engage with it. Because the Bible says we're in a war. We're in a spiritual war against flesh and blood. And I think the thing that's been helping me the most lately has been being a parent. And I know teenagers aren't parents, but it's like, I want to discipline myself now when my kids are 2 and 4. So that in the next few years, I can show them how to be somebody that is diligent and steadfast and immovable and always abounding in the work of the Lord. And I think I'm understanding that for me to be a man that they deem worthy of following, I've got to go to battle with this need for indulgence and this need for comfort inside of me. Because we are so habitual. I used this analogy the other day. My grandpa has dementia now. And from the time I can remember, he had the TV on all night and was up almost all through the hours of the night watching horse racing and slept very little. My mom, who was way better than that, but my mom has always been a night owl, like always got a second wind. And I'm just like her. I always get a second wind. If I don't get to bed by about 8:30, I'll be tired about 8:30. If I don't get to bed by about 8:30, I can stay up till literally 4 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And I'll be tired the next day, but I'm energized and like loving life at 4 a.m. And what I realized is that this is a habit that it even goes deeper than me. It's a habit that probably is like literally like one of those DNA type habits that has like been passed down. And if I don't get control of this, this is one of those like keystone habits that it's got me in a bad cycle. It's got me in a cycle where I stay up late, I wake up late, I rush through my day, priorities are pushed to the back burner because I don't have time to complete them. Mm-hmm. And then because that time, 10 a.m. to, I mean, really 4 a.m. is very rare, but 10 a.m. to midnight, I'm not doing anything very fruitful in those hours. There's not like,
You mean 10 p.m.?
Yeah, 10 p.m. Is that what it
You said 10 a.m.
Oh, 10 p.m. I'm not saying I'm doing anything like bad, but I'm not doing anything
Right.
that's producing growth.
Right.
And it's like, and then that's literally the habit. And so that's part of my challenge right now is I'm trying to get to bed by 9 a.m. So 9 p.m. so I can wake up by 5 a.m. And it's the hardest part of the challenge. But I want to discipline that part. I want to beat that part of me because I think if I can start with my body at doing that, which is the hardest thing for me, because for years I've stayed up late, and so it's just like it is literally
That's
like
what your body knows.
oh, and it is hard.
Yeah.
Like it is hard. Like right now I'm doing good at putting my phone up. That's one of the parts of the challenge is put my phone up at 5 p.m. and I've been doing pretty good at that. But still, it's like a cocaine addict.
Yeah.
It's like constantly trying to look. And like even last night, like I had put it up, but I knew I was texting you about the podcast. And so I was telling Lex, well, I'm not going to be on it, but I've got to leave it right here in case it comes on so that I can see it because you even think about how our life is oriented and structured. It's hard to, and it's like, my point is in all that is that it's one of the hardest ones, but I also think it's one of the ones that can free us up to build the other two up. If we can maybe push past it, because it's also the most practical. It's also kind of the heart and the mind, they're kind of hard to record and judge and gauge and kind of get some feedback on. The body, we can see it. So I can see every night when I don't go to sleep at 9, and I can see every morning when I don't wake up at 5.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives me, it's kind of the fastest track to at least going down the path of changing things, if that makes sense.
Why do we judge ourselves harder though on our physical and on our body?
Because we can see it.
Like,
and we can understand it because
we don't see the bigger picture.
True.
Right?
But it's because what we can see. Because when we can see something, we can kind of understand it.
Yeah.
We don't get as much anxiety over stuff we can see. Like even if you were to tell me, like if you were to show me how I was going to die on and what day I was going to die on and what was going to happen after I died, there'd probably be some anxiety because I'd have to walk through it. But it wouldn't be the anxiety that most people have with death. The reason we have anxiety with death is because we haven't seen it before.
Right.
We haven't walked through that door before. If we can see it and we can understand it, that's why like one of the things I always try to teach people about death is if I can learn to understand God and understand his heart and understand that he's going to be controlling the thing that I can't see and the thing that I haven't walked through yet, then I can at least find peace in trusting his heart.
Yeah, so that's where we turn to this word. This is where we see it. This is where we feel it. And this is where he transforms us, putting this in us. Even if it's the Psalms that I don't want to be reading, and I feel like I'm not getting a ton out of,
like,
that's
no
the
more
part
Psalms.
that's going to change me, that's going to transform me. You know, that's where the change has to come from him.
Yeah.
Again, it's not going to happen if I'm not connected to him, if I'm only connected to the physical world.
When a lot of people get so wrapped up in the physical, there's a lot of
Oh,
people.
you and me both, right?
For sure. But I'm saying like there's some people that get wrapped up in it and are good at it. And then it makes them think they're successful. There's some
Until
people,
they're not.
Right. There's some people that can transform their body and be diligent and only eat chicken and rice and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And see that as success. But the reality is that, and the reason why this one was last and not first, it is the easiest to practically get started on and practically see a difference. But it also can be a great deceiver because it matters, but it's also the least significant.
Yeah.
It only matters really if the reason it mattered for the Apostle Paul is because it was part of something that helped him. We just lost that camera. So we'll finish up. It's okay. It was something that helped him to discipline his heart and his mind as well, which is the most important because it's at the center of the soul and it's on the outside of the soul. So does that make sense?
Yeah. It's been good. It's been good. I think There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot.
I mean, yeah, you could go a million different ways with this.
Yeah. I think it's important. I think it's important that you guys ask questions, that you keep feeding and nourishing. You're not going to have all the answers right now. You're not going to have all the success right now either. That's another thing. We have this misconception about success. You know, just being obedient is success. And it doesn't always feel like it because it's like, but it didn't get the results that I thought. Yeah. Just be obedient. You know, and you're going to feel that connectedness to the Lord. You're going to feel more connected to what he has in store for you, right, for your life.
Yeah, it's good. Well, we lost one camera.
That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to solve the soul in an hour.
No,
but also going back to the shame cycle, there's no need to solve the soul in an hour.
Yeah, that's right.
I will say this, and it will just be audio, but it's okay because I think this is good. I think that so many people get discouraged because we have gotten so used to dopamine hits. People get discouraged when they come to church every single week and I think the reason people come to church for a little bit and not come to church, whatever, is that their expectation is a dopamine hit. And so we'll solve all the soul's problems for me in an hour. When the reality is that the Bible says that those who are planted in the house of the Lord will flourish. And planted sometimes feels like being buried. Sometimes it feels like growth. Sometimes it feels like growing downwards and not upwards. Sometimes it feels like stretching roots that nobody sees. But the key is, one of the things that's helped me lately in the state where I'm at in following Jesus is, because when you first get saved, you do feel Jesus every church service in a lot of ways when you're in love with him. And then it kind of starts fading. And the thing that's encouraged me is I'm not coming to church anymore for a dopamine hit. I'm coming to church for two reasons. Number one, God says if I'm planted in it, I'll flourish. And I trust him more than I trust myself. Number two, he's commanded. There's three reasons. Number two, he's commanded it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to obey him because I can't get his will without his ways. And then the last one is this, is that God doesn't work in big plans. God works in small steps. So I'm not coming in for God to fix my soul in an hour. I'm coming in for God to give me one step to take this week.
That's good.
That can take me on the journey to being the person that has the capacity to run the marathon. So hopefully these 3 podcasts each give you a step. Yeah. And hopefully my voice sounds great right now. I don't know what's on the screen right now. Probably just your face laughing. So
thanks. All right. Thanks for this. It was
absolutely
good.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Have a good one. Peace. Hey guys, so this has been our Soul Care podcast series. Right now we have 3 episodes, maybe more. And really we just hope that this will help you be able to take care of your soul and thrive in following Jesus in your life. So make sure you like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment. I don't know if you're feeling crazy, and stay up to date with everything happening on the Life High podcast. We'd love to see you on Wednesday nights every week, 5 o'clock, and with dinner and service, and really just be a part of our community and follow Jesus together in Angleton and hopefully make Angleton a little bit more like heaven. So we love you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.